we're almost live on YouTube, just so you know.
Folks are pouring in now. Woohoo.
Hi,
Welcome,
Rob.
everyone.
Hi, Rachel.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
You
Good to see at least see your name, Rachel.
Yeah.
I'm doing well. How are you?
for my video on. Yeah, I'm good.
It's good to hear from you.
Hello, Sarah, and welcome. And Julio and Steve, I don't know if we said hi yet, but if we haven't, hello, and
everybody.
welcome.
Hello from Julio.
Hello. I think we'll give it like another minute or so. People are pouring in. Hey, Michelle. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Michelle.
Hello.
Yeah, does 5 o'clock, does that count as afternoon or evening? What does 5 o'clock count as?
Ooh.
Deep questions for today. Afternoon didn't sound wrong, so I'm that maybe that's it.
Depends on what. 5 is kind of one of those hard ones.
Depends on which part of the world you're from.
Yeah,
5
good
o'clock
point.
in my country is noon.
Good point,
Love
though,
it.
right? People like there are places where dinner is like 10 p.m.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. I also feel like since it's summer and it's totally light, even when we end the meeting, it's still light. Then
Right.
maybe 5 is afternoon, but then like in December when it's like 5 o'clock and dark, maybe it's not afternoon anymore. It's a rotating.
I like
rotating
that.
thing.
That's a good. And I like as far as explanation, it really is, regional, cultural.
Well, I think because we're not done yet, it's still afternoon. If we were
Okay.
done, then it would be good
Yes,
evening.
that's a good point. It
I
kind of
like
feels like
it.
we're still at work, it depending on how you
Yeah.
the meeting. That's a good point.
That's true. That's great. Well, maybe on that note, I will kick us off. So welcome everybody to the August chapter CSC meeting, and I'm gonna share my screen to get us started here. And I feel like every month when I share my screen, I have to remember where it is. Here we go. Oh, participant. Oh, sorry, this is. Here we go. Okay. Can everybody see my screen? Okay. Yeah, so welcome to the August CSC meeting, and these are the instructions to make sure that everybody can listen to the meeting in whatever language they are most comfortable. And I'm going to pass it to our Linguistica team to give these instructions in Spanish to make sure we all can participate.
Thank you. Buenas tardes a todos. El día de hoy tenemos disponible el servicio de interpretación para aquellas personas que lo requieran. Ya está activado. Si ustedes se están conectando desde una computadora, en la parte de abajo del menú de Zoom van a ver un icono que parece un mundo que dice interpretación. Seleccionamos ese icono y seleccionamos español y luego silenciar el audio original para que puedan escuchar solo la interpretación del inglés al español. Y si se están conectando desde una tableta o desde un dispositivo móvil, tienen que tocar su pantalla y seleccionar la opción que dice los 3 puntos. Luego seleccionamos interpretación de idiomas, seleccionamos nuevamente el español silenciar el audio original y finalmente la opción de finalizado, terminado, listo or done para que puedan activar la interpretación del inglés al español. Ahora voy a dar las mismas indicaciones, pero en inglés. Hello, everyone. Today we'll have interpretation available for those who need it. If you're joining from a computer, at the bottom of the Zoom menu, you will see a word-like icon that says interpretation. You can select it and then select English so you can hear any comments from Spanish into English. And if you're joining from a tablet or your phone, you can tap your screen, select the three dots at the bottom, and then language interpretation. You can select English, and then at the end, finish or done. Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you. I just want to pause for a minute to make sure that everybody can hear in the language that they would like to hear in. So if you are having interpretation problems, please unmute and say something or put something in the chat or raise your hand. Okay. I think everybody is good. But if at any time you have any issues with the audio or interpretation, please raise your hand or unmute, because that's obviously very important that everybody can hear however they would like to hear. So moving on to our part of the meeting. So welcome again, everybody. I'm Diana from Harder & Company Community Research, and Vanessa is away this month, so I'm joined today by Liz, and she and I will be co-facilitating today. Liz, you might recognize her from the Arvin Lamont meetings or from our Community Clean Air Day. She's one of our most active facilitators, so you've probably seen her sometime before, and you will get to experience her even more today. So welcome, Liz. We're also joined today by Jessica and Rocio from the Air District, and then we'll have a lot of special guests at the end for the standing updates. So to support everybody's participation, we invite you to participate in the meeting as much as you are able. Liz and I and all of the Air District staff are here to help you. Again, if there's any tech challenges or interpretation issues, please let us know, and we're happy to pause the meeting and make sure that everybody can hear. I know sometimes in the past, there's been some issues with Zoom, and I feel like Zoom is always doing updates. So yeah, don't be embarrassed to raise your hand if you can't hear us. The agenda for today, this is the agenda for today. So, and as always, it represents topics that are requested by the CSC members, as well as important updates from the Air District and partners that they need to move this work forward. We have agenda setting meetings most months, and we really appreciate how many of you in chapter come to those meetings and share your ideas. And today's agenda is a reflection of that. So we're going to start, as always, with reviewing the action item trackers. We're going to spend some time doing some updates on some CERT measures, and then some outreach updates on some things that the district is doing, and then close with standing updates and public comment. Something that came up in the last agenda setting meeting is an update about the plans for the 5-year Shafter, the end of the 5-year Shafter implementation period, and what's going to happen with that. So that's going to be included in the standing updates when the Air District does their update. So that's where that's going to come. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and pass it to Jessica for some opening comments.
Thank you, Diana. This is Jessica. I'm with the Valley Air District, and I am so grateful that you are all here. So many of you have been here since the beginning, and like Diana just previewed for us, we really are reaching a big milestone over the next 6 months. And so today is just going to be a really big update for you all on the progress that we've made in a lot of the measures that you have all helped us create. and also an opportunity to talk about all of the relationships we've built really with all of the other agencies that you will also hear updates from. So I just, once again, I'm grateful for all of the input every meeting, including the agenda setting meetings. That is really how we arrived at today's agenda, and look forward to talking with you all. Thank you, Diana.
This is Diana. Thank you, Jessica. Before we jump into our agenda items, just want to see if anybody has any questions or is having any logistic Zoom issues before we get started. Great. Then I think we'll move on to our first agenda item, which is reviewing the action items tracker. As in all of our meetings, Liz and I write down the action items during the meeting. So maybe it was a question that somebody brought up that we didn't know the answer to, or more information that somebody asked about, or a change that we want to do differently next time. So Liz and I write all of those down. And then in the following meetings, we bring those up again. And in this case, Rocio will go over them and update you all about the progress that's been made on those action items. So now I'm going to pass it to Rocio to go over the action items. This will be from the June meeting since we didn't meet in July.
Thank you so much, Diana. Good evening, everyone. Let me go ahead and start sharing my screen to get started with the action items. And today we only have 2 to go over, so it should be fairly quick. We have one in the completed section. So it was a request from the CSC to receive some flyers for the passenger vehicle workshop that Valley Can hosted. So we went ahead and shared that with folks via email, and we also went ahead and mailed those to folks through mail. And if ever anyone would like to receive more flyers than what we sent them, feel free to reach out and we'll be more than happy to send more to you folks. And then moving on to the comment and noted section. So the district will report out on the outreach event that Valley Can hosted for the passenger vehicle replacement workshop, as well as do a check-in at the end of the year to follow up on the progress and the status of the measure. So in today's meeting, we'll have an update on how Valley Can's workshop went that they hosted, and then we'll make sure to circle back to this measure at the end of the year to again follow up on the progress and do a status update. And that is the end of the action items. There was only 2 today, but happy to take any questions if folks have any.
This is Diana. Does anybody have any questions for Rocio or anybody else about any of the action items? Great. Thank you, Rocio. And for the action items that Liz and I are tracking today at the end of the meeting, as usual, we'll share what we wrote down to see if you have any questions about those or if we captured what you were wanting us to capture correctly, because we're writing them down in real time. So we'll give you that opportunity at the end today. So moving on to our CERT measure implementation update. So Jessica from the Air District is going to provide some updates for this discussion about 4 specific CERT measures: urban greening, vegetative barriers, passenger vehicle repair and replace, and paving, and including the goal and the status of each and how community members could participate. We have a good amount of time for this update too, so if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand, or when it's time for the Q&A, feel free to unmute and ask the questions. So take it away, Jessica.
Awesome. Thank you. And once again, this is Jessica. I'm with the Air District, and I am going to share my screen. So folks could give me like a little thumbs up that you see my screen.
Yep, see it.
Excellent. Thank you. As Diana mentioned, we are here really to talk about some big progress we've made over the past, in some cases, several months, but in some cases, just this month on a lot of the high priority measures that are in your CERT. As mentioned, we are going to talk about the passenger vehicle replacement measure, the 2 tree planting measures, urban greening and vegetative barriers, as well as our paving measures. But first, we are going to take a moment. I know it feels like a long time ago because it was, but we have not met since we had our Community Clean Air Day. So if a lot of you were there, thank you so, so much for coming and attending. This was the very first time the district had ever hosted something like this. And honestly, and I gave a big shout out to the Arbonne Lamont folks as well, but Kern County by far had the most people. A lot of you took a bus and came to us. Some of you drove, which is incredible as well. Over 100 Valley residents and stakeholders came. We also had we had about 120, 130 people, including all the agency staff, and a bunch of people actually from outside the Valley as well. And we just had such a great time connecting with you all. We are finalizing an email where we will send you out some more pictures, a summary of everything we discussed. Just another thank you to amazing panelists that we had. Gustavo Aguirre Sr. was one of them, and a variety of other just incredible folks from across the region who came to the meeting really with the intention of sharing with folks that are doing similar work to you all, but maybe you've never met because they live in Stockton, or they live in Fresno, or they live in a community that doesn't have an AB617 program. We had such a great time with you all, and I hope that we get to do it again. We are planning right now on doing something very similar again next year, and we'll definitely keep you all informed and are eager to continue to keep you all plugged in and help us make it even better than before. So I just want to take that moment to share with you all that we had such a great time and we can't wait to continue to get feedback from you all. Harder & Company actually created a survey, and that survey, thanks to all of you that took the survey and gave us feedback, really it sounds like a lot of people got so much out of the day, and that really feels good to us, but should also feel good to some of our committee members that helped us design the day and get people there. And with that, I'm going to embarrass and give a big shout out to Bianca Santoyo. She was a big reason it was such a success, not only on our steering committee to help us design the day, but to get you all there. So thanks so much, Bianca. We really, really, really appreciate it. With that, though, one of the things we learned is, through that day is how important progress is to people. And so that's really the theme of our meeting today. So the first update relates to the two action items that Rocio just went over, and that's the Passenger Vehicle Replace Program. So as a reminder, Valley Clean Air Now, that's the group that's doing this program, hosted a vehicle replacement application workshop on June 17th and July 22nd to assist folks interested in applying to the program to replace their old vehicle with a brand new or used electric vehicle or plug-in hybrid vehicle. We actually had over 57 applications submitted since we launched this just 2 months ago, and we will continue to do workshops until funding is exhausted. I did, not to put him on the spot, but I do have maybe once I go through this, and maybe we can pause for questions since we have time. I did see that Jose from Valley Clean Air Now, and I think Veronica as well, they're both on the call if folks have any questions as to the details of how those workshops have been going. But otherwise, we can see that a lot of folks have been interested. A lot of folks attend and just get some of their questions answered. And then clearly folks attend and actually apply to go through the program. I will show you here in a moment on our tracker. We're going to go over our tracker here at the end of the presentation. But essentially what this means is we are about 30% through the funding in only 2 months, which is really awesome. And we're getting a lot of folks into the program. I'll pause there and see if there's any questions. And yes, I see Jose and Veronica are both happy to help. Linda.
So you had 170 residents attend, and then you had 57 applications. Are all 57 approved, or are we still waiting on that?
Great question. I believe all of those applications, and Veronica, maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong on this. When we report out applications, these are folks that are like in and through the system. They might be in various levels of like getting more information or going back and forth with the applicant. Veronica, is that kind of the understanding?
Right, they wouldn't all be approved yet because it's on the system.
Got it. So of those 57, do we have an estimate? Some of those are approved and some of them have actually gone through the program, from my understanding.
Correct. That is correct.
Now, did this include that extra additional funding from CARB where I think they were going to get like 20,000?
The additional funding from the SERP, yes, we adjusted. Great question. The SERP was adjusted to make sure that everyone, the top amount you can get is 20,000.
Okay, so just curious, because you had 170 attend, and then, you know, obviously less than half did the application. Do you know why we're having such a lower amount apply? Is it because they're not qualifying because of income, or the car they want, or the car they have to turn in? Do you know where the hiccup is?
No, we're also not accept like the portal, the application portal was also closed June 28th. So if people don't qualify for the AB617 funding, they have to wait.
So maybe, Veronica, does that mean maybe someone, for example, came that doesn't live in the boundary and
That is correct.
they can't go through 617? Also, I have a question, Veronica. Are 170, are those individual households, or is it possible that those are like families coming?
Family, that's the total turnout.
So that's total people.
Oh,
Linda?
okay, that makes it all
Yeah.
different.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you, Jessica.
Great questions. No, thank you, Linda. Awesome. Well, as folks come up with questions, I know that Veronica and Jose are happy to answer any more questions, maybe as you're thinking, or maybe something occurs to you later, but I will move forward. And just as mentioned at the top of the meeting, we will continue to update you all on this progress, and we will always put that number in the tracker every month. All right, so our next update is on urban greening. So in May, and you can see this amazing picture here. I think we've shared this a couple times, but in May of 2024, the city of Shafter, Tree Foundation of Kern, and the Air District, along with community members, as you can see here, planted 12 large box trees at Veterans Park in Shafter. The city council approved, so that didn't take up all of the urban greening funding. There was still money left to work with the city on additional projects. The city council approved the purchase of trees with the 15,000 that was left. And the city will likely focus this planting on Lerdo Highway, which is one of the areas that was identified by the community. So once again, I'm sure we'll continue to work with the city if there is an opportunity for, you know, community member support for this project, but also just, of course, update you all with pictures and timelines once we know the official planting date, so you can all be aware that when you see those trees, you know you helped get those trees here in the community. I'll give the next, the vegetative barriers update, and then I'll pause again for questions. So vegetative barriers, we also heard a really great update from the wonderful company representative, Unique, at the last meeting, that they planted oleander vegetative barriers on Lerdo and Burbank, and will plant on 7th Standard Road when more oleanders are available. Because they planted so many plants, they were running out of places, nurseries, to go and get the plants. So they needed to make sure that more were available for them to do another planting. We've also coordinated, and thank you to all of your efforts, and then to Bianca for following up with us. We did coordinate with the Kern County Agricultural Commissioner, based on recommendations from you all, to do direct outreach to folks throughout the boundary, but also specifically in the areas you have all identified. Folks that are growers in the region that have direct contact with the Ag Commissioner. He sent out an email and also posted on his site information about the available vegetative barriers funding. As a reminder, we still have about $800,000 left in that measure, meaning there are a lot of projects we can still do, but we need to find partners to do it. And so we've also done our own outreach where we've called folks, including the Rio Bravo Greenlee Elementary School and landowners around the Mexican colony area, knowing that those are high priorities for you all. That is our commitment to continue to do that and to continue to work with the Ag Commissioner to do that outreach. I know you are all doing a lot of outreach, and we want to continue to see what other opportunities there are to get the vegetative barriers planted in the community, especially in those areas you've all identified for us. With that, I do see Linda has a question.
So I don't remember which meeting it was, but I believe John gave an update that they had planted the oleanders, and they look great down there though. They're growing, they're doing great. But he mentioned that in one of the areas, a bunch of them got stolen. Is there a way, since we have some funding, if they want some of those plants so they can replant, is there a way to get it to them where they're not dinged? Because it really wasn't their fault.
I don't think that they were, I'll confirm, but I think they're happily working on, and I think they continue to try to replace those as well. So yeah, we worked really closely with them. We were really well informed, and maybe you weren't at the meeting. Unique did also give the same update at the last meeting about the process there. So I don't have the full details, but they weren't dinged, and we helped make sure that they could get the funding that they needed, or the support they needed to make sure that project.
Okay, and thank you for your work with the Ag Commissioner to try and reach out to those other areas that are along freeways. That's very much appreciated, especially during harvest.
Yes, and thank you all again for that great suggestion. Glenn was happy to do it, sent out the email immediately, posted it on his website, and I'm sure would send another email if needed. Any other questions about tree planting? And maybe just as a note, so I can make sure to follow up, if you can note as an action item for the district, just to confirm that the theft issue, that the district was able to support, or whatever information we need to make sure that the same 3 projects will still happen with the SERP funding. Just so that I can confirm that. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. This is my last update in the slides, but I will also share the SERP tracker. So I will give this update, pause, and then I have a couple of updates in the SERP tracker that are just quick updates for you all. So finally, this seems like it's one project, but in reality, the sidewalks, bike lanes, and paving are a variety of different projects that you have all helped us prioritize and advocate for with the city and the county. As a reminder, actually based on additional funding we added to this measure, there are $4.3 million for road paving and bike lane installation that were in the SERP. We have 3 projects that take up that full amount of funding that are moving forward. We have our first project is the City of Shafter project along State Route 43 near Apple Market. Just a quick update about that project. Earlier this year, the city released a request for proposals to seek folks an engineering service to do that project. In July, they took the item, so just last month, they took an item to their city council for approval to award the engineering services. And the next step, the Public Works Department will schedule a project kickoff meeting to begin the engineering work. So even though it feels like it's been a long time, these are really big projects that take a lot of time. And we just wanted you to know, even though there's not actual work being done today, a lot of work has been done over the past few months to move that project forward. So thanks to the City of Shafter folks who I know are on the call today as well. The Kern County project in the La Colonia area, we did, as I mentioned a moment ago, add that additional $600,000 to completely pave the full width of the road that leads into the Mexican colony area, which will allow for that entire area to have complete streets. So that's going to be a project that we will continue to update you on as we move forward. And then finally, additionally, we had the City of Shafter bike lane project along Lerdo Highway that is also moving forward. So I just want to pause there and let you all know that we are just as eager. I know you're more eager than us, but we are very, very eager for these projects to move forward. And so one thing I just want to commit to you that we will continue as we do all the time to work with the city and the county to understand maybe when there's like a big groundbreaking or some sort of like moment that we can all get together and celebrate those. We would love to help coordinate that here at the district, let you all know, and we can go out there, take a picture, really celebrate the big moment where all of this work happens. So that's our commitment to work. I'm saying this now to the city folks, to the county folks, and to all of you. We're so eager to see sort of that big progress milestone of digging and breaking ground and getting the work done. So we will continue to work on that and let you all know when that happens and go down and celebrate in Shafter with you all. So with that, I'll pause there before I go to the last couple of updates and see if there's any questions. Great. All right, I have two more things. I am going to pull up, I will first, I have the SERP tracker up. And I'm going to go over really briefly in English and then I'll do it in Spanish. The SERP tracker, here we go. Maybe I'll do it in Spanish first. And let you all know what we did is this is the tracker. This is actually updated as of minutes ago, so it might look slightly different with more progress since the one that we sent out to you last week. And in this tracker, what we did is as we've done every time, but we want to start making it a habit to present the tracker to you and show you other things that have been updated or changed since the last time you saw it. So a couple of things I want to highlight. The first thing is that we sorted it this time by things that are complete. And in some cases, the measure is complete and completely done and installed. In other cases, the commitment is done, meaning we are under contract in this particular example to do road paving projects. So we just wanted you all to have a way to see all of the progress you have all helped us make. But I also wanted to highlight a couple of things that you'll notice in this tracker. And they're all in green. And we continue to do this, and we'll make a habit of this every meeting, is to go over all of the updates briefly with you to see if there's any questions. So the first one here is the one you just heard me mention. This is the update, and I'll just really quickly tab over to English as well so folks know. This is the update on the replacement of passenger vehicles that you just saw me talk about in the slides. So that's the update there, the 57 applications and the committed funding for that. And then the other update is that we will continually present to you the numbers for all of the residential air filtration units that we've been replacing. So we are just over 1,000 residential air filtration units, meaning we definitely have a lot of funding for more. And we are definitely eager to work with you all on continuing to do some great outreach. And I know I've actually spoken with a few of you about some additional things we can do to make sure that measure moves forward. Finally, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom for both the English and the Spanish. But for those of you who maybe don't use or look at the tracker all that often, I did want to update you that you can look at the tracker to see some of our compliance measures or enforcement measures, as well as some of our outreach measures. So definitely, if at any point you have any questions about the progress, we of course have those quarterly reports that we present, but this is also a way to check on a monthly basis what's going on with those measures. So with that, I just wanted to pause and see if there's any questions and let you know that we're going to make this a habit to continue to present this. It's a really big spreadsheet for you all to comb through. And so we just wanted to make sure that we highlight for you what's changed every time we meet. And thank you, Rocio, for putting that in the chat. Great. Cool. Well, any update on the pesticide notification funding? Thank you, Bianca. Bianca has a great question. So, and maybe I'll verbalize this, but I think this is something over the next couple of months we can talk about globally, not just this measure. As a reminder, there was a measure or is a measure in your SERP that committed funding to the development of a pilot pesticide notification system. Since that measure was adopted in your SERP, the state found funding and is doing a statewide notification program. But that funding is still there in your SERP to do something. And so we are committed to finding a way to use that funding still in a helpful way. And maybe we can talk about this at a future meeting, but potentially using that funding to still related to notifications and using that funding to fund some outreach and education about how to use the notification system. So that way it's still related and it's still something that we can work with folks on. But yes, Bianca, it is still there. It has not moved or gone away at any point. And I know it's going to be in my standing updates later, but I'll just say to Bianca's point, and really to the point I was just making, is that over the next few months, we will continue to work together on really how we finish out all of the SERP commitments, including looking at things that we have yet to do, like that commitment to fund pesticide notifications. So I think that that is something you can all look forward to, and definitely our commitment over the next few meetings to summarize and try to identify big successes and then big things we want to continue to do in the SERP that we know we need some resources to move forward. And then, sorry, I'll just read this out loud. Bianca asked, can we have a pesticide subcommittee meeting to strategize on where to use the funding? Bianca, that's a great point. We do have pesticide subcommittee for Arvin. We've invited you all to, but a subcommittee specifically for this measure. Maybe we can have a subcommittee, or maybe we use a meeting to talk about it. So maybe that's one of the action items, is identifying a place that makes sense to have that discussion. We can certainly make it an agenda item during the regular meeting if that makes sense too. Thanks, Bianca. All right. Well, if there are no other questions from me, I know a lot of what we just talked about would only be possible if it wasn't would only be possible with the great outreach that you all help us with. So I'll pass it back to Diana so we can kick off the outreach discussion.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and basically that's our next topic, is an update on all of the amazing outreach that the district and all you all are doing, including the Air District's Back to School campaign. We also have a good amount of time for this measure. And so again, feel free to ask questions as we go along. And I'm going to pass it back to you, Jessica.
I'm going to pass it to... Oh, am I doing? I thought Michelle was doing it in Spanish, I believe. Yes. Okay.
Hola, buenas tardes a todos. Yo les voy a dar las actualizaciones sobre el alcance en la ciudad de Shafter. Les voy a dar la presentación ahora en español. Como dijo Jessica, mi nombre es Michelle Rivera. Aquí les voy a decir un poco de lo que hemos hecho en la ciudad de Shafter, los eventos que hemos participado en el mes de junio. Participamos en 2 eventos. El primero fue el Shafter First Fridays. Este es un evento que pasó en el centro de Shafter, y este fue el 14 de junio y ayudamos a los residentes a solicitar el programa de habitaciones de aire limpio. En este evento nos llevamos 15 purificadores de aire y los residentes pudieron llevarse su purificador ese mismo día. También llevamos información de otros programas y pudimos dar mucha información a los residentes. Estas son unas fotos del evento. Esta es nuestra compañera Nancy, que estaba allí con nosotros, y ella fue la que estuvo ayudando a dar los purificadores. Otro evento en el que participamos en el mes de junio fue el taller de Valley Can. Estuvimos ahí con Valley Can en el Firehouse Pizza. Y en este evento no llevamos purificadores de aire, pero sí ayudamos a los residentes a aplicar el programa. En este evento pudimos ayudar a 20 residentes y también se llevaron información de varios programas que tenemos en el distrito. Aquí tenemos más fotos de los residentes que vinieron y asistieron en el programa. Como dijo Jessica, ya tenemos más de 1000 purificadores que se han distribuido en la ciudad de Shafter.
This is Liz. Michelle, it sounds like someone might have a question. Darlene, do you have a question? Oh, maybe not. Go ahead.
Sí, como estaba diciendo, como dijo Jessica, ya hemos distribuido más de 1000 purificadores y estamos trabajando para buscar otros eventos para poder para poder llevar información del programa y ayudar a los residentes a aplicar. Estos son de los eventos que tenemos planificados en este mes y para el próximo mes. Algunos van a ser de escuelas y otros que van a pasar en la comunidad. Ahorita estamos trabajando con la escuela de Grow Academy en Shafter para poder asistir a este evento. Es en esta semana, pero todavía estamos esperando que nos diga la escuela si sí o no podemos estar ahí con ellos. Pero si dicen que sí, ahí vamos a estar este agosto 15. Y ahí vamos a llevar información igual de los purificadores y de otros programas para del AB617. Alcance que vamos a también hacer en otra escuela va a ser en la Golden Oak Elementary y este va a ser para el agosto 27. También tenemos planificado de ir a las escuelas cuando los padres lleven a los niños a la escuela en la mañana o cuando vayan por ellos en la tarde para poder hablar con ellos y darles información y también igual darles información de los programas de que pueden aplicar y si pueden también, claro, si califican para darles información de los purificadores. También vamos a asistir en otro evento con Valley Can. Este va a ser el 26 de agosto. También va a ser otra vez en Tony's Firehouse Pizza. Y como dije, 27 de agosto vamos a estar ahí con ellos. Si conocen a alguien o si no han ido a este evento, por favor vayan para poderles ayudar con las aplicaciones de purificadores. Y ahorita también, como les dije, ya hemos ido al Shafter First Fridays, pero ahorita la ciudad está planificando otro evento en el mes de septiembre. Ahorita estoy trabajando con la ciudad para poder aplicar para nosotros ir a este evento, pero también si la ciudad nos deja ir, vamos a estar ahí con ellos el 6 de septiembre. Y es todo por ahorita, pero si tienen preguntas, yo les puedo contestar lo que tengan.
This is Liz. Thank you so much, Michelle. We'll just pause to see any questions about all of the outreach and what was just presented. It looks like, yeah, Jose added in the chat that their event is the 26th of August. Thank you. Yeah, that was an exciting update. Any questions or comments that folks would like to share? Oh, okay. I'm not seeing any hands raised, so I think we can go ahead and transition to our next agenda item, unless something else comes up in these final moments. Okay. Oh, maybe we do have a hand. Yeah, Angelica.
Aparte de ese, los primer viernes de los eventos, también nos tenemos ese de Farmers Market, los sábados también. Y esos son todos los sábados. Hay chance que a lo mejor se pueden tratar o contactar más gente o mencionar eso a ellos. O algo para los sábados también.
Sí, para nosotros podemos trabajar con nuestra directora para ver si podemos o si tenemos chance de ir uno de estos sábados. Yo sé que los farmers markets también son los sábados, pero todo depende si nosotros tenemos personal que pueda asistir a esos eventos. Pero nosotros podemos hacer un seguimiento ya después de esta reunión.
Ok, nomás está que no a saber.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Great question. Yeah, go ahead, Jessica.
This is Jessica. I'll add to, Michelle is right, we can identify opportunities for our team to go, but we also have mini grants. And if folks would like materials from us and they want to do outreach and set up a booth, maybe they're already there setting up a booth and they want to do additional outreach about clean air rooms, about the lawnmower events, about any of the other programs that we offer. We would love to do that. We've done the same for, I think, a couple folks in this community. We do that for a lot of the other communities for these exact type things, like a farmer's market or like a back to school night type thing. So please let us know. We would be happy to partner with you.
This is Liz again. Yeah, thank you for the great question and suggestion. And it sounds like the Air District is definitely open to hearing more of those. So, after this meeting, if anything comes up, as always, definitely reach out to the Air District to share any thoughts. So if nothing is coming up again in these final moments, I can transition us to our next agenda item, and that is our standing updates. So we have a few agencies who are here, each with their own brief updates, so we can go in the order that they appear on the agenda, starting with the Air District. So I think I can pass it to Jessica to share the update.
This is Jessica. I shared most of this already, but I wanted to formally let you all know that this is the time of year that we put together our annual report. And that annual report goes to our board as an update, our governing board. It also goes to the California Air Resources Board, or CARB, to update them. But this is sort of a special time for all of us because we are coming up on the 5th year of the program. So I just wanted to preview for you all that over the next few months, we will be coming to you all with some of the information, including a draft report that we want to include in that update. The difference, though, is that as we approach the 5th year, we want to continue, as we've already done, to work with you on identifying some measures that need some more support, maybe need some more outreach, as we keep talking about, and also measures that are complete that we can sort of celebrate and report back. All of that to be said, I just wanted to give you a preview that the next several meetings are really going to be about hearing from you on reporting progress, hearing from you on what you want those next steps to look like for some of the measures, and then reporting back to you how that progress is going. So that is really the key elements to the next few months, including the draft annual report that I know folks that you work with, like Bianca, are eager to see and eager to have you all give us feedback on. I will pause there and see if there's any questions. Awesome. Well, like I mentioned, we look forward. Oh, go ahead, Bianca. Thank you.
Sorry, I was hopping outside. So my question is, has CARB gone together with the Air District to see what's the next envision? I know that, as you mentioned, is our 5th year and it's our finishing year for the SERP implementation. Is the Air District going to start moving funding for projects that are not being used? Or is it going to be a questionable item until the 5 years are completed? What is the Air District envisioning after the 5 years, if not finished with all the CERT funding?
Great question. That is exactly the conversation that we will have over the next few meetings. But to your point, Bianca, it will be about moving funding. It will be about identifying progress that needs to be made. And it will be about maybe there's measures we keep going with. You know, maybe there are measures that are still working, like residential air filtration. And we know we can get people. It's just a matter of we need more time. Those are the types of things we'll talk about. So we'll identify sort of the buckets of things that are maybe going to keep going after the 5 years, maybe some things that we'll have to move funding to or from, and maybe some things that are done and we're just, you know, we're done because we fulfilled the commitment. So those buckets, and I see that our CARB contact is nodding, that's sort of the what CARB has helped identify in the blueprint as the next phase or the next step, are sort of identifying how to move those measures forward. To your point, Bianca, we will outline that for the group, and these won't be decisions made by the district. It will be a supported, you know, co-decision-making process with everyone on how to move forward. Please, Bianca.
As a suggestion, I know that we haven't been meeting regularly like we used to in the past through the 617, but it would be nice if we do reallocate some funding to do it in person. I think it's important to for us to visualize some of the SERPs changings that are going to happen, and what is CARB going to expect from us as CSCs to do that work or implement those pieces that are needed. I'm also looking into the time frame. I know that you, like you mentioned earlier about the green vegetative barriers, there's contracts involved with that type of SERP incentive. Is the Air District gonna continue doing that type of contracts if needed to be used? I know you mentioned that the Ag Commissioner is facilitating some of the conversations with them growers. So I do want to acknowledge that piece, that even though it's out of the 10-year mark, is the Air District going to follow through with those CERP measures?
This is Jessica. Certainly everything under contract is under contract. So for example, vegetative barriers project, we have that contract with them. They have 3 years to complete the project. We don't cut that off in February when the SERP ends. That is a contract that we are under. There are some things there are funding deadlines that the funding has to be spent by. So there are a few things that we need to figure out as a district to support. And that's why we can't just indefinitely have the SERP open. The deadlines, not even up to CARB, it's actually up to the state legislature. There are deadlines attached to all of the funding we get, but that's why we want to have a conversation to have a good plan. To your point, everything, we will still honor all those contracts. If someone enters a contract, you know, in January with us to do vegetative barriers, that will continue to happen. So great question, Bianca. We will make sure to work with folks to make sure the funding is spent within the deadlines that are attached to that funding. But no, we will not just like cut off contracts when that ends. All of what you're asking, Bianca, is great information for us to prepare for the next few meetings. Just to add the note is we can look into and start to identify if a time over the next few months makes sense for an in-person meeting. That wasn't something we were planning on doing in the next few months, but we definitely also want to have one, Bianca. That is definitely something we've worked with the team on. So we'll identify when that makes sense, and I think that's a great point.
And I also have another question. I know that the Air District does have some reduction plans, part of like the SERP, to add some extra incentive, like the Valley Can and all that. Is the Air District still having that funding available, even if the 617 finishes after a certain amount of term? Like the Valley Can or the Tune In, Tune Up, those type of projects, is the Air District going to still fund those projects even though there's not an attached AB617 funding, or are they going to finish in the area of Shafter?
I'm not sure I understand your question. Maybe if I can rephrase it and you let me know if I'm correct, Bianca. You're saying things that are not 617 that just happen to be in the area. Are you asking if those are going to keep being funded?
Yes, like the Valley Can, I know that they have a regional one, but
Correct.
being part of the 617, they're giving an extra incentive. After being done through the 617, is the Air District going to leave the area or still continue doing the advocacy work in the area?
We are not, so the Valley Can, when we have funding for the Valley-wide program, nothing will change when 617 is over. Once we exhaust all the funding in the SERP, any measure that is different, I now am understanding your question, like the lawnmower measure or the replacement measure. Once we spend the SERP money, we spend the SERP money, and everything will go back to just being Valley-wide. So it means that folks in the area can still apply, but they would be a part of the Valley-wide program. Once we spend all that SERP money, to your point, and again, I think maybe if we can just to help everyone visualize this, I think this is such a great tee up for our discussion. We'll bring some good visuals, Bianca. To your point, something like Tune In, Tune Up, or car replacement, we have a lot of funding in there for, and it's possible that we might still be looking for partners like residents to replace their cars past February. That might be one where we can all agree to keep it open until it's finished, if that makes sense. Like I mentioned, kind of lawn and garden might make sense. Maybe we don't have time to host an event before February, but we are hoping to. I will say that out loud. But if for some reason we can't, that will also be one we can keep open until it's finished. So we are committed to finishing up as many of the measures as we can through that February deadline. We will talk about the bigger measures that just aren't moving through a big visual we can present at the next few meetings. So I hope that helps answer your question.
Yes, it does answer my question. I just would like it before changing any funding, visualize it, sit with it, and then have it in person. I think it would be nice to have the discussion in person to see where we could work together. I think through the screen is difficult, and it would be nice if we're going to do those type of changes that are going to affect the SERP. And also I wanted to add, if the Air District does need a letter of support to continue doing the work until it finishes, we're more than welcome to, us at CSC, to support that cost.
Thank you. This is Jessica. I don't know that we need that, but I appreciate that, and we'll let you know if that's necessary. Definitely your support is necessary. And so regardless, I think your point is well taken, Bianca. We will not make any big decisions the next meeting or two maybe, but we'll talk just a lot about the decisions we can make if that helps. That way, like you said, folks can sit with it. And maybe at the end of the fall, we can do a big in-person meeting to do some changes as necessary. And yes, your point is well taken. CARB is always at the table to hear the community support, and I think that's all that's really needed for a lot of this work. So I really appreciate Bianca. I think we're already thinking of how we can host the next meeting to really have these in-depth discussions.
This is Liz, and also just want to thank you, Bianca, for all the really great questions. I'm sure others in the room probably have similar questions and appreciate you making those comments. I just want to pause and see if there are any other questions or comments that anyone has for Jessica about what was just shared and what was asked before we transition to the next update. Okay.
That's it.
So I think we can transition to CARB, and we have our contact Mike here to provide that update.
Everyone, this is Mike Elvis from CARB at the Office of Community Air Protection. We have a few updates here that we're really excited to share with you. The first being is that the version 3 of AQ View has been recently released, and I will link that in the chat. Currently, there is not a Spanish version available, but that is something that is planned for the future. If you do click on the air quality map, you'll see that there's all sorts of active PM 2.5 monitors. That has not changed, but what has changed is that you can now click on independent sensors on the top right, and this also includes about almost 8,000 monitors across the state. And so you can really see, there's a few around the Shafter community and many in the Valley. And so this is a really great tool if you're interested in, air pollution in the state, whether or not something is affecting your community or someone and everyone around you, for instance. Now, the second update that we wanted to share is regarding the Cycle 5 Community Air Grants. Now, the Community Air Grants is established by CARB for the Community Air Protection Program. And this implements a lot of the strategies and guidance from, say, Blueprint 2.0. And these grants are provided to community-based nonprofits as well as Native American tribal governments. This year is very exciting because we anticipate about $16 million for these grants. That is up from $10 million from last year. And so there's lots of funding available. I will post a link to that below. There are 2 public virtual workshops where you can learn more about them, August 20th and August 22nd from 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. For both of those meetings, there will be a third-party facilitator and simultaneous Spanish translation at those workshops. Now, moving on to something also interesting is we just published an AB617 story map. I will link that below, and this is a brand new map. It explores the stories of residents, partners, and air districts through the Community Air Protection Program. You guys have your own wonderful story as well. The lawnmower replacement event. I think Bianca is on the front page of that one, the SERP implementations. And you can also look at all of the other AB617 communities and progress updates in that link that I posted in the chat. And then finally, just very short. Last month on July 25th, we had a board hearing. There were a lot of people from the Valley that joined in. We proposed or we presented the annual update on the Community Air Protection Program to that board. This is the first since we released the new Blueprint 2.0 last October. And so we were able to show how we've begun to put those new provisions into action. We got a lot of really great advocates, community advocates throughout the Valley join us for comments as well. And I'll post not just the English webcast in the chat, but I'll also post the Spanish one that is translated and transcripted as well. And those are all of my updates. If anyone has any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Mike. This is Liz. I think there were several updates in there, so just want to pause again and see any questions or comments coming up for Mike about any one of those updates. And I see a bunch of links were posted in the chat, so looks like you can find more information there as well. Well, I'll just pause for another moment again and see any questions or thoughts for CARB before we have our next update. All right, well, thank you so much, Mike.
Thanks, everyone.
So we can move to our next update, and that is from DPR. I think we have a couple representatives here, so I will pass it to you.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Mohammadi, and I am actually an environmental scientist in the environmental monitoring branch, air program for it. So on July 30, DPR provided an update to the Arvin-Lemont pesticide subcommittee. We presented on the following topics: the statewide pesticide notification systems, updates on the new 13D or T-loan regulation concerning farm workers, the Cal EPA Community Science Work Group, and information on DPR's fumigant alternative study that is part of DPR's broader commitment to sustainable pest management. I will provide the link for this. So you can go and take a look at the link. And that's about it for our updates. If you have any questions.
Thank you so much. This is Liz. So again, it looks like in the chat, there's a link to that presentation for the Arvin-Lemont subcommittee. I think we saw a few folks from Shafter there. Yeah, Bianca, go ahead.
Sorry, I run outside. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I did have questions in regards how T-loan is being viewed in the area. I did want to give a comment here because it's a recorded line, that the way DPR is measuring the standard for bystander and for occupational, it's way off. I think this community itself has been burdened for so long, as we do have a monitor here in Shafter, and there's been high elevations of T-loan being applied in the area, and being just the simple fact that it's being detected means that there's actually drift happening in the area. It's alarming to have that type of measurement for a T-loan in two different standards. I think it's important that DPR goes back and changes those type of regulations, because it's affecting our community. You're telling that our community is not worth enough to know how to protect themselves in these type of chemicals that are being applied. I'm a firm believer that communities have been doing their work in changing the air contamination, but these industries are still affecting us on a daily basis. And being two different standards from occupational to a residential are way off. I just wanted to make it clear here that DPR should do better.
Hi, Bianca. This is Aniela from DPR. I just wanted to thank you for your comment. And something that we talked about in that PowerPoint presentation is that there's going to be an opportunity for public comment once we release that regulation in November. So there's going to be a 60-day comment period. And I definitely encourage you to put that comment when we release that regulation. And we'll provide a lot more information about how to comment and how to attend hearings. And so we'll provide that information for everybody here in Shafter and in Arvin Lamont as well. So thank you again for that comment.
Thank you, Bianca. And I see another hand from another Bianca. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to maybe react a little bit and echo what Bianca Santoyo has been just expressed, the disappointment in the Department of Pesticide Regulations attempt to divide the exposure or the potential risk to communities by creating two different standards. Our communities have been saying this is inaccurate, and it is a disservice to the communities that are highly exposed to and live in communities where pesticides are predominantly used, specifically Talone. Talone is the #3 fumigant used in the state. And it is a disservice to create two different regulations, one for bystanders and then the other for occupational bystanders. And so I think Aniela, I think you're trying to get us to participate, but that public comment that you're speaking of is just a checkbox. The Department of Pesticide Regulation refuses and intentionally ignores the community's disappointment with these two regulations. So yes, there is going to be a public comment period, but it's going to be meaningless. The Department of Pesticide Regulation is going to use it as a checkbox to say that you've given us an opportunity to give you our opinion, when the department has already made up its opinion and its decision to create two different protective standards. It is inaccurate to assume that workers just go home and that they are not exposed to pesticides. The workers who work in the fields and are exposed to pesticides also go home to the Central Valley where pesticides are highly used. So to divide that, it is a disservice to the community. We want the Department of Pesticide Regulation to use the protective standards that have already been set by OEHA, which is a 0.04 parts per billion. And that should be the regulation across the board for all of us. Bystanders or occupational bystanders, those who live, work, play, pray, and work near these fields. So it is a disservice, and it is ingenuous to assume or to ask people to provide a public comment and that our comments will be heard. We know that that is a checkbox the Department of Pesticide Regulation often checks off, along with other agencies, including CARB and the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District.
This is Aniela. Thank you, Bianca, for that comment. And I'll take all this information back to my upper management and communicate it to them. So again, thank you.
Thank you. And I see another hand from Bianca. Go ahead.
I also wanted to add that we should also concentrate that our children are also being exposed, and in no way, shape, or form are they considering the sizes of our children, their growth development, and the exposure that are happening. DPR is only looking at a physical adult that is fully developed, that does not have any type of exposure. And we should really understand that us as family members or our parents, we are also looking at that it's really handy that DPR is up in Sacramento, that are not being exposed to all these chemicals like Talone, 1,3-D, and our children are being exposed and they're not even added in these regulations. So I think it's very important to also add and reiterate that our children are not being added in this type of regulation as an exposure method.
Hi, this is Aniela. Hi, Bianca. I just wanted to respond to the portion about children. So as part of our first regulation that went into effect on January 1st of this year, children are considered in that regulation. And that's how they our toxicologists, the scientists at DPR, they consider children and infants in that endpoint. But thank you for your comment.
It's only added in the is a residential, but not occupational, when there's schools that are being surrounded by agriculture. As I mentioned earlier, here in Shafter, there's a pesticide monitor, and that has picked up high elevations of T-lone where children are being exposed. So it's actually an occupational regulation, and it's not added into this regulation that you're talking about.
Yes, and so all of the setbacks, those also apply to schools as well. So there has to be a setback, which is the distance between where pesticide can be applied and a school where the pesticide can't be applied. So at least 100 foot up to 500 feet. So we consider schools in that regulation, in that first regulation, as well as children.
This is Liz. Just want to thank both Bianca's for the question and DPR for the responses. This is clearly a very important issue, and just want to thank the community for showing up and giving these comments, even when it's frustrating and difficult. Change happens slowly and too slow, if we're all being honest, but it happens because you all keep showing up and keep making these comments and trying to understand the science and pointing out when it's not aligning with your experience. So I just want to acknowledge that, these conversations are so very important, and just very grateful to the community and the agencies who keep showing up to engage in this way. And sounds like the conversation is definitely going to continue. So thank you all. At this time, I know we have a couple other updates, and so I'll move us on to the next, which is from Kern Cog. And I see Rob unmuted. Go ahead.
Thank you. And I just really want to thank everybody for giving us a few minutes to update you on what's going on our Kern Area Regional Goods Movement Operations Study. The abbreviation of that is for CARGO. That's CARGO with a K. And it's a grant that was funded by Caltrans. And we are using that grant to address one of your SERP strategies, HD8, the heavy duty truck rerouting. It's also dealing with some other issues related to that. And also just wanted to let you all know that I work for the Kern Council of Governments. And on that council is David Couch and Kathy Prout, who Kathy is on the call today. And they are, I work for them and they work for you. So in essence, Kern Cog works for all of you. And so what we saw when we were applying for this grant through Caltrans was an opportunity to try and go after funding that could meet some of the needs that you saw within your community. And so last week we had the last of our 4 meetings. It was up in Delano at the Center for Race, Poverty, and Environment. And it was kind of the meeting for North County. And we're going to be having a makeup meeting this week, and wanted to invite you all to that. And here with the details on that is Rachel Adino from Southwest Strategies. And so she can kind of give you the details. So we hope that you guys will all be able to make that upcoming meeting. So Rachel, when and where is that?
Thanks, Rob. So I am about to put a flyer in the chat that has a link to the Zoom, and I'll include some the additional Zoom information too. But it is at 4 p.m. on Wednesday the 14th and goes to 5:30. So we'd love it if you could attend. It is via Zoom, and we'll have interpretation available as well.
And at this time, for a preview, did you want to show the video?
Yes, absolutely. Let me share my screen and get that going.
And Rachel, as you share your screen, I just want to announce out loud that the video will first play fully in English and then play fully in Spanish. So to give our interpreters a break, if you can make sure that the folks know that it will be in Spanish following English, so you don't have to sit there. It's kind of a fast video. We will hear both. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jessica.
Kern County is home to breathtaking landscapes, strong heritage, fossil deposit sites, historic railways, and nearly 900,000 diverse residents. Bringing in billions of dollars annually, the oil industry has brought thousands of jobs to the region over the years. 1 out of 5 jobs in Kern County is ag-related. With this economic shift, Kern County workers can expect new, high-paying jobs to support the operation and maintenance of automated systems. This means planning for growth in additional sectors. High-tech industries like logistics will need support and require individuals with expertise in leveraging technology to optimize efficiency, analyze data, and oversee the safe and efficient movement of goods. Partnering with local education institutions can help prepare our community for the new era of industrial technology and living wage jobs. Our plan will maximize Kern County's unique location as the crossroads to the Central Valley to distribute goods. How does that affect Kern County? With the current infrastructure, we may expect congested corridors or big trucks driving through our communities, causing pollution and road deterioration. However, our plan will identify new routes for truck traffic to bypass our communities, new freight rail lines to help shift the use of trucks for goods movement, avenues to move trucks away from sensitive locations like schools and hospitals so that small towns regain their main streets. By identifying improvements to our roadways and freight rail network, we help extend the life of our roadways and improve connectivity throughout the county. We aim to enhance the safety and equity of Kern County and promote long-term improvements that will ensure equity and help our network withstand extreme weather, particularly in rural communities. Quality of life and economic vitality for the region is our #1 priority. Quality of life and economic vitality for the region is our #1 priority. We need your feedback on the Cargo Community Prosperity Protection Study. Change starts with you. Share your voice today. Your feedback will help prioritize projects and will be part of Kern COG's Long-Range Transportation Plan and the 2026 Regional Transportation Plan and Sustainable Community Strategy. To learn more about ways you can participate, visit our website today.
El condado de Kern es hogar de impresionantes
Rachel, if you could pause.
Yes.
Sure.
Sure.
De fósiles y
And then start the Spanish over. We have to have you go into the Spanish channel.
Oh, right.
To play
Okay.
the Spanish. Thank you.
Okay. I'll do that right now. Okay, can you hear me, Jessica? Okay, I think I'm okay. Great.
have you started sharing?
You don't? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Let me pause it and I'll start it from there.
And your screen.
Sorry, everybody. I forgot to share my screen. Okay, can you see it?
Yes. There's a
Okay, thank you.
black bar at the top. Oh, okay, it's gone, I think.
Y ferrocarriles históricos y casi 900,000 residentes diversos. Atrayendo billones de dólares anuales, la industria petrolera ha traído a la región miles de empleos a lo largo de los años. 1 de cada 5 empleos en el condado de Kern está relacionado con la agricultura. La economía de la región está cambiando. Con este cambio económico,
Sorry, Rachel, really quickly, can you turn it up higher?
I'm at full volume. I'm sorry.
para apoyar el funcionamiento y
On the YouTube video to increase the volume.
significa planear el crecimiento en los sectores adicionales.
To the left.
Industrias de alta tecnología, como la logística, necesitarán apoyo y requerirán personas con experiencia en el aprovechamiento de la tecnología para optimizar la eficiencia, analizar datos y supervisar el movimiento seguro y eficiente de las mercancías. Asociándonos con instituciones educativas locales, pueden ayudarnos a preparar a nuestra comunidad para la nueva era de tecnología industrial y empleos con salarios dignos. Nuestro plan aprovechará al máximo la ubicación única del condado de Kern como punto de paso hacia el Valle Central para la distribución de mercancías. ¿Cómo afectará esto al condado de Kern? Con la infraestructura actual podemos esperar corredores congestionados o camiones grandes atravesando nuestras comunidades, causando contaminación y deterioro de las carreteras. Sin embargo, nuestro plan identificará 1. Nuevas rutas para el tráfico de camiones para evitar nuestras comunidades. 2. Ampliar líneas ferroviarias de mercancías para contribuir a desplazar el uso de camiones para el transporte de mercancías. 3. Avenidas para alejar los camiones de lugares sensibles como escuelas y hospitales para que las localidades pequeñas recuperen sus calles principales. Nuestro objetivo es mejorar la seguridad y equidad del condado de Kern y promover mejoras a largo plazo que garanticen la equidad y ayuden a nuestra red a resistir condiciones climáticas extremas, particularmente en comunidades rurales. La calidad de la vida y la vitalidad económica de la región son nuestra prioridad número 1. Necesitamos su opinión sobre el estudio a cargo de prosperidad, protección de la comunidad. El cambio comienza con usted. Comparta su voz hoy. Sus comentarios ayudarán a priorizar los proyectos y serán parte del plan de transporte a largo plazo de Kern Cog y del Plan Regional de Transporte 2026 y la Estrategia de Comunidades Sostenibles. Si desea más información sobre cómo participar, visite hoy mismo nuestra página web www.kerncog.org/cargo. Sus comentarios serán usados en este proceso de planificación y ayudarán a priorizar los recursos para avanzar en proyectos de transporte y serán resumidos y presentados a los tomadores de decisiones durante la actualización del plan de transporte a largo plazo para el desarrollo de Kern. Gracias por ayudarnos a hacer una comunidad mejor.
Thank you. This is Liz. And Rachel, you may need to switch your interpretation back to the English channel if you're going to be speaking in English, just so you know.
Perfect.
So while you're doing that, Rachel, correct me if I'm wrong, but our meeting is coming up Wednesday evening. It's an online only meeting. And it's at, I believe, 4 o'clock to 5:30.
That's, sorry, Rob, go ahead.
No, finish. Go ahead and finish because you have
Okay.
the information.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had to switch back. So I have all the information here too. And if you're not able to, okay, my message is too long, so I'll send it in batches in the chat. If you are unavailable on Wednesday, we do have a survey that has all of the display boards that we're planning to show during the meeting. And so you can provide your comments that way as well. So please, if you're welcome to do that and provide your feedback that way if you're not available at that time.
Thank you. And we have one question from Linda. Go ahead.
Hi, Rachel. I was wondering, are you putting that all in the chat?
I am, yes. My message was too big, so I have to break it up into a couple different pieces in English and Spanish.
So Jessica or someone from the Air Board, is it possible for you to take all the information in the chat and put it into an email? Because after these meetings happen, I feel like we lose everything that was put in the chat, so we won't have any links or any information.
Yeah, we sent an email on, it looks, I think on the 8th, but we can resend an email reminder to folks.
And that will have all the stuff that she's
Yes,
put in
the email, yes.
well.
The email on the 8th had the flyer in English and Spanish, the announcement, and the link to the Zoom. But we will resend a reminder. I think that's a good point.
And that will, Rachel, you had mentioned something about if we couldn't make the meeting, something else was available. Is that going to be sent?
I can put it here as well, but it should be, I was just going to copy and paste the email. So if Jessica, if you're resending that, then that probably works better, but I'll put it in here as well. This is the direct survey link.
Great.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This is Liz, and thank you for the question and the presentation as well. It sounds like there'll be an email with all of this information sent out again to everybody after this meeting. So if there are no other questions or comments from Kern Cog, I believe we have just one more update before we close out the meeting. And so our last update is from the rep from Wonderful. And while this wasn't on the agenda, this was a request from a CSC member. And so that we have Wonderful here today to provide that update. So I will pass it over to, if they're still in the meeting.
You may have lost them.
Okay.
I don't see. Unless you all see John Gwynn. I do see iPhone. I'm not sure if we've identified who that is.
This is Liz. If John from Wonderful is here, or if maybe that is you on the iPhone, could you unmute yourself and let us know? Otherwise, I think we can bring this update back at another meeting.
This is Jessica. Maybe while we're identifying that, I will just give a shout out and a thank you to Michelle McManus, who is the CSC member who has been letting us know, and I think certainly during the agenda setting meetings, really eager to hear from the wonderful company on the wonderful industrial park expansion. And so it looks like maybe they dropped off today, but we're eager to continue since we now know that they're eager to come to a meeting and commit to you, Michelle, to making, and the group to making that an agenda item on the next meeting agenda, as well as the other items we've already discussed today.
This is Liz. Thank you, Jessica, for that quick update. And yes, I think John dropped off the call, so we'll bring that back for the next agenda. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all of the agency partners who come to these meetings and keep providing these important updates. At this time, oh, Mike, I see a hand. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, just before we end, I may have missed it, but Bianca earlier mentioned a pesticide subcommittee meeting, strategizing where to use the funding. Did we talk about that or put that on the agenda?
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I just mentioned that whether it makes sense in a subcommittee meeting or an upcoming meeting, that we would kind of decide that together with the group.
Sorry, okay, I missed that.
No, it's okay. No,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Mike. And it looks like we do have a hand up from Michelle. Go ahead.
Yes, on the pesticide update meeting, I'd rather do an agenda item than have a sub meeting. We don't get very good attendance for the agenda setting. I hate to put another meeting on the plate that's that may be hard for other people to attend. So I'd like to keep it on the agenda instead of a subcommittee, if possible.
This is Jessica. Michelle, I was thinking the same thing. That was sort of what yeah, that was my inclination as well. So I'm glad to see there's agreement, and I don't think anyone would disagree that a meeting where everyone or more people are in attendance would be a better opportunity. And as mentioned, the next few meetings we have to discuss a lot of different measures and the use of that funding. So I think this would fit right in with that, whether it's the next meeting or, as discussed with Bianca, several meetings where we discuss a lot of measures. We'll make sure that's one of them.
Yes, this is Liz. Thank you again for the question, and that's a great topic to discuss at the upcoming agenda setting meeting as well. And so at this time, I am going to transition us to our wrap up and next steps. So I will share my screen with some of those announcements. Okay. So the next Shafter CSE will be on Monday, September 9th at the usual 5 p.m. time on Zoom. And as just discussed, there will be the agenda setting meeting happening on August 19th at 4 p.m. via Zoom. We always appreciate when folks come to the agenda setting meetings, and it is always more effective the more folks can join. So if you can make it, please do, so you can contribute to doing those prioritization discussions and really coming up with what you would like to see on the agenda. And so I will stop sharing my screen for just a moment as I pull up our action items. Give me 1 second. Okay. And so as was mentioned again a couple times tonight, we take this time at the end of every meeting to read through the action items, to give you all a chance to make any additions or edits if we happen to miss anything, which happens, or if we happen to write something down that wasn't actually characterizing it correctly. So please do feel free to stop me at any time and make a suggestion for anything to add or change. So I will read these out loud. The first action item, the Air District will confirm that the theft from the urban greening and vegetative barriers has been taken care of with the SERP funds. The next, the Air District will continue to work with the city and county to identify important road paving and improvement milestones for celebratory community engagement. The next action item, the Air District will work with the CSC to identify the best space to hold conversation around utilizing SERP pesticide notification funds. And we just had some additional discussion around this. Maybe there's a preference to doing this in a CSE meeting. So again, that can be decided at the agenda setting meeting. Our next action item, the Air District will check if they can conduct outreach at the Saturday Farmers Market. The next item, the Air District will check to see when an in-person meeting makes sense for this group, as was suggested by Bianca. Next, the Air District will resend that email reminder about the Kern COG meeting as requested, and that will include the survey link. And then our last action item, the Air District will invite Wonderful to the next meeting to talk more about the Wonderful Industrial Park expansion. And these last two are getting translated right now. So I'll just pause and see again if there are any additions or any changes that folks would like to make to these action items. I'm not seeing any. So I think we can continue to move on. So at this time, I would like to open the floor up for our final public comment. So as a reminder, the community member comments are important to this process. That includes our public members. So just would like to invite any members of the public, if you haven't had a chance to comment tonight, now is your chance. I will check YouTube to see any comments there, and I don't see any. I do see one from Bianca. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up a concern that I have of something that happened in McFarland, or it's possibly still happening. There was an almond hole pile that was burning for over a week, and I'm not sure if it is still burning because the Air District has failed to follow up with me after I made a complaint. And so for folks that are not familiar, the Central Valley Almond Company that is located in McFarland, 1 mile south of Post Road or something like that, was burning for over a week and possibly might still be burning. And the Air District is just allow them to keep burning without forcing the company to put it out and relying on the fire department's resources, public resources, to put out an almond hole fire. And unfortunately, that is stuff that continues to happen in the Central Valley. And I'd like some type of follow-up, an explanation on how do you allow ag industry to potentially set their almond hole on fire to either get rid of their waste for the future to make room for more waste, or how are they not following regulations, or what are the regulations to make sure that these almond hole piles do not catch on fire? It's like having compost piles. You have to continuously turn them so that they do not catch on fire because compost heats up. And so my concern is that the Air District was just allowing this company to burn for over a week. And I'd like to get some follow-up because the Air District has not.
This is Jessica. First, Bianca, thank you for bringing this up. Second, I will make sure, I don't know why we should 100% always follow up with whoever makes a complaint. So I will make sure, regardless of my update right now, you also get a phone call to follow up, definitely with whomever you made a complaint with. Lastly, I'll just, to your point, this was not a fire started by the almond hauler. It is a spontaneous combustion fire. We immediately notified and worked with them as fast as we could to make sure that they didn't let the fire spread. However, they did not take action fast enough. I believe we are taking, and I will confirm because I'm not the compliance person, but we are 100% working with them to take enforcement action. This is not something that we do not put out. We are not the fire department, so we have to work with the fire department officials for fire safety reasons. we are 100% not okay with it continuing to happen, and certainly have been in communication with the city manager, with the fire department, with the almond hauler. And like I mentioned, and I can confirm with you and make sure the person who calls you back can confirm that we are taking immediate and as best we can corrective and enforcement action for them to continue to not move the piles as they were instructed early on. I don't have much more information to the very details, but to your point, we are not okay with the fire continuing. However, the way that spontaneous combustion fires work, it's not that the fire is set by them, but at that point, it does become difficult for the fire department or whoever it is to put the fires out. So I really, really appreciate that you brought that again to us, because we definitely need to follow up with you. But we have been working with the city manager, with the fire department, with as many folks as possible. We also work directly with the city manager to get a note to him for him to share with neighbors and community members about how to protect folks' health, how to make sure smoke wasn't impacting them during the fire, how to make sure that they can get, if they haven't already, it might not be available this moment, but make sure they have an air filtration device. So I appreciate that you brought this up, because I definitely will bring it to folks' attention that we need to follow up with you directly. And then I'll also make sure if I know anything else besides, or I need to correct what I've just said, I'll make sure to note it kind of in the notes and with Harder and Company. But thank you, Bianca.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Liz. Thank you, Bianca, for raising that issue. And Jessica, I really appreciate your response. I'm not seeing any other hands or comments from the public in the chat, so I think we can close out our public comment and again move to officially closing our meeting. I just want to thank everyone for all of the engagement tonight. And before we close out the meeting, would love to pass it to Jessica from the Air District to share any closing thoughts.
I just want to thank you all. This was a very engaging meeting. I think we got a lot of great feedback, and we have a lot of great next steps for our next several meetings. And definitely thank public members like Bianca Lopez for being here with us tonight. Thanks, everyone.
Now we say good night.
Have a great evening, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.